All right, so let's continue now with our starting to cover our boards. One of the things I want to do, so I have my pages ready, and one of the things I want to do is, I guess I also need to show you guys, so all of the reinforcers are on front and back. The nice gold, I like that. I like how they stand out, but they still go with the metallic sort of papers, the colors, and sort of the sort of like, I guess, the glam of the season, right? So I love those. And then these papers have been glazed, so they have that same sort of shimmer to them. But what I want to do, what I told you I was going to show you with these holes here. Let me see, is this one? I think this one is ready to go. Did I actually open this yet? No, I didn't. Okay. So we'll just use some of what we already have here. I'm going to need to use this anyhow, so I might as well. When I go to glue up the pages, I kind of want to finish using the rest of this glitter glue, which is why I have it upside down. That there. So just pull some of it off my hand since I made a mess. But what I like to do is with these holes, I'm gonna take a little bit of the glitter glue is like a PVA. Any white glue will do. But what we're going to do is just kind of skim it over these holes. And then what I like to do is take like the rounded surface, like of a bone folder. I mean the pointed surface, and sort of go around the holes like that. And what we're going to do is we're just going to push the rest of that material down into the holes and just kind of smooth them out. So we just have really nice clean holes that won't you know, that stuff won't catch in them like our rings when we go around, because we're actually just smoothing some glue in there, and it's just kind of gluing everything down into it. So you're just taking the pointed part of the bone folder and you're pushing material back down into that hole. You're smoothing things over. We really won't have a lot of material left, but it's a way of just smoothing all of that down into the hole and sort of flattening it. So we're just flattening it, and I even take my finger and smooth it. And you'll see when you're doing it, that material will just be down, and the more the glue sets up, the better it is, because you end up with these nice clean holes that will be nice and clean when we start putting our leather, because the leather is going to go there, remember. So we're going to actually push the leather down in those holes as well. But just like another one of those bookbinding finishing kinds of details, that it does make a difference, because you just don't end up with a lot of extra material that can over time just kind of start popping up on you. And it just makes a nice smooth, the rings that are going to be in here will just glide better, you know, because it'll be just sort of a closed off situation. And it just pushes anything back so that when we go to put the leather or the paper, it's smooth, you know, like we don't have any raised areas. So when we're done, we won't see like this weird raised kind of mountain thing around each hole. We want to not do that as well. So, and you can just, you know, as the glue is setting up, take your hand and just kind of smooth it down in there. But just keep on pushing the material around so that that hole will set up nice and clean. So that's just a little trick that really does make a difference. If you do one with it like that and one without, you'll see the difference when you have that little raised area and you're like, oh, I don't like the way that looks. So important to get all that extra material out. Okay, so that's looking good. Alrighty. So we'll push this over for right now so that I can, next thing is take, now I noticed that in the original marble paper, it's just like this little striation line. I'm not crazy about that. And since I don't want that right on my edge, like for this, it's so focal point, I'm just going to go ahead and take that bit off. So what we want to do is let's measure in. We want to come in approximately, just trying to keep all of my stuff organized here. So we'll go back to our book. So let's cut our piece of leather to be about, let me see, what is it here? It's about an inch. It's about an inch and an eighth. So we're going to want this to come in about an inch. I'm thinking for the kind of cover, yeah, I guess an inch and an eighth will be good. So let me just take something to make a mark with. I don't know. Okay. On this dark cover, we'll be able to see it. So I'm just going to come in an inch and an eighth right there. The same thing down here. I'm doing this so I can just sort of mark. I know where my line is going to be, because that's where I'm going to, this is going to get butted up at the inch mark. So it'll look like that. So here again, I'm going to eyeball it, giving about an inch at the top, about an inch at the bottom here. So let me pull out my mat so it's easier for me to take that mark, which is right there. Line it up so that I can get a nice tear. So it's even. And I'm going to go ahead and get my front and my back covers done right now with these measurements. And then flip it over. So we're seeing an inch, approximately an inch top, an inch bottom. And then we want to do basically the same thing on the inside here. About an inch. I'm just eyeballing it, which is okay to do. Doesn't have to be exact. Okay. All right, so that's going to give me what I need to go around this cover and have enough overreach on this side when we go to cover the boards. Okay, so that's what we're going for. So I know that I have enough just to overlap my leather here, because I put those marks there. So I know my paper is going to overlap that just by a bit. And then we're good on the back side. So let me get this piece and do the same thing with it. I think I'll go with this edge just to kind of give a slightly different look to the back. So I'm just grabbing a different part of the pattern. And let's just go ahead and use this as our template. We'll have to do that measuring again. So we'll grab this bit here, because this is going to be my front and the back, right? And then right here, grab that. Alrighty. So this is the back, this is the front. That'll go there. And this is going to go here. So we've got same amount of overhang, front and back. Alrighty. So let me go ahead now and cut the red. So now we're going to get our leather. And I want approximately the same amount of overage. So right to about there. So that's where we're going to bring it in. And then we're going to do, let me see. Kind of measuring, rough measuring. Okay. So basically I'm going to cut this leather to be 1 inch and 1/8. So I'm just doing a really light mark on the outside. I don't want to do too much of a mark because I don't want to end up with ink on my leather, but I know that doing it like this, let me just move this up further. It's on the far edge of it, and that's the edge that's going to get turned down. So let's just go ahead and line this up. Thank God for cutting mats. Hope this is making sense to you guys. You'll see it. Even if looking at it right now, it seems like, what in the world is she doing? Just look at it a couple of times. Stop the video. Start the process yourself. And as you do it, you'll see why I'm doing things a certain kind of way. It'll make more sense to you then. Okay. Now, this one, I decided I'm not going to be... Remember, I don't want to tuck mine under. I want... let me see. I want for this edge to be raw. Remember we talked about that. So I'm going to glue this down so that edge will stay raw. But if you want yours to go over, then just allow for that extra so that you can bring the leather around and under just short of those holes, okay? So just make that adjustment. But I remember I'm not doing mine like that because I want this live edge to be in here. I'm trying to understand. I don't remember that spot being there. So I need to cut another piece because I don't want that spot right there. I can use this for, I'll just use this piece for the corners because I still have to wrap leather around the corner. So this will be my corner pieces. But let's do this again. Here we are. I didn't see that little goober. Looks like there's another one, so I'm not going to sweat it. Okay. Alrighty. So this one gets put over there for the edges. Alrighty. Okay, so there we have it. That's better. Much better. Okay. So I'm going to glue to this raw edge a bit. You'll see this leather is so, it conforms so beautifully that it's going to just conform to this whole thing. So getting my board over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the glue actually on the board, because that leather is so thin. I don't want to get it to start curling or doing something strange. So let's just go ahead and put the glue right on the surface here. And I'm going to show you how we're going to handle those holes. This is all going to start making a lot of sense. It is a process, but end up with some beautiful old world looking boards. So that's why I decided I wanted to do this so I could really show you guys this way of doing it. I think it's neat, and it just adds, you know. Get some more glue down here. I'm running out. Okay. So let's take this piece here and I'm going to put it, I got to be able to see this. Sorry if my head gets in the way. Let me turn it around. That would make more sense. So I kind of want it to creep over the edge a bit. Like that. So you see how I'm kind of getting the leather to conform to this live edge, and that's because I want to pretend like that was there when it got torn, like the leather was kind of like already there, and it just kind of ripped with it. And once it dries, I'm gonna do some additional stuff to it, but just so you guys see where I'm going with it. Okay. That's looking good. We just get a little bit more right there. That's looking great. Yeah, it went down really nicely. Just put some extra in there. Okay. So now you can see where the holes are. And see how nice and smooth they are? You really have to look at it good to even see where the holes are. See that? Like right there, because we got it so smooth, and if anything, you're seeing indentations. You're not seeing raised areas, and that's what you want. So I'm gonna flip this over, and we're gonna get some more glue. Let me get my PVA from down here. We're gonna get a little bit more glue on these ends so I can flip it over just a bit. We're not gonna go that deep into it because we only need a little bit of that to come over. Let me see. So let's say if we set it about an inch, I'm going to cut this. So it'll come over about the same amount that we plan on having the paper come. Okay. So just go ahead and put this right on the leather like that. Move to a fresh spot. Alrighty. So we'll just flip this over like that. And we'll flip this over like that. Okay, perfect. Looking good. And this edge, just pulling this down and flattening it, and I'm just going to smash this down a little bit. Okay, good. It's looking good. That's going to get covered with, wait a minute. I think I have my little tweezers down in here because this leather is so thin it just bunched up a little bit. I don't want that bunch. If I can pull it out, I'm going to try to. Okay. Alrighty. So there's that part of it. Now, okay. I know this is going to be a long video, which is why I was trying to do as much editing as possible. So now we can see where these holes are. So basically what we're going to do is take our awl and we're going to push it right down into the middle of these holes. And then I'm just going to open this leather up a little bit like this. And then what we're going to do is take a little bit of glue from this side and just kind of push in some glue right in these holes, just a little bit. I want to do it from this side because I don't want the other side to get too much glue. We're going to take the same pointed part of the bone folder and we're just going to push this material, wiping it off on my hand because I don't want to bring glue back up onto the surface. I'm just going to push this glue. Hold up. A little bit too much on this. I don't need quite so much. Okay. It's going back over here. As the glue sets up, the hole will get better and better. We just take our time. Just always wipe it off. Our goal is to get nice open holes with that leather pushed down in there. See how it's starting to set up? We're actually getting so let's get another bone folder, a clean one that doesn't have glue on it, so we can really just move it down around in the holes. I'm just twirling it around in there so I can push that material up against the walls of the hole, and then I can see how I'm just kind of like getting it to shape. Just pull that down. Just want to get it to shape around this hole. And as it dries, the more it's going to actually adhere to those sides. So basically, using whatever you have to go down in the hole will be good. And just kind of flipping back and forth until it's all glued up. Takes a little while just to get it tacky. Yeah. And I can see it from this side. So just be patient with it. It'll eventually stick really good. Okay. So that's good. And you can kind of keep on playing with it, but you can see it's looking really good. So those holes are now where we want it. Now, this is going to overlap just ever so slightly. Oh, this is going to be really good. Look at that. Yum. So this is going to be... So what I'm going to do is, because I need to get this corner out. So I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to see how much of this corner I want to take. So the way we get the best way of getting an angle is, let's say if I come in an inch, that way, and an inch this way. Create a cross coordinate. So I kind of just took the midsection of those two measurements, an inch in this way and an inch in that way, and they crossed right there, and that's where I put my, you can also use, if you have an angle, like a right angle or something, you could use that. So now I'm just going to move it in some because I don't really want it to be that much. So I want it to look more like this. So this is the one we're going to use here. That should look good. Okay, so we want to be able to just kind of reproduce that little piece there. I'm just going to take this, I'm just taking a piece of paper, I'm lining it up with that mark that I made, and then I'm going to cut it. And that's going to give me the angle that I want. So if I do that one like that, reproduce that there. Let's see. So our top to bottom is good. This is going to overlap about right here. And we need to take, we're actually going to take a piece out of this. And I really want it to be the slightest little piece. I don't even think I want it to be as big as I just did it. So I'm going to just, on camera live, I'm going to figure out the easiest way to get this corner. For me, it's always visual. You guys understand that by now. I'm such a visual person. Like, I just have to see how much I want it to come out. Okay, I just want a little bit. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just, I'll tell you exactly the measurements once I figure it out. Once I visually get this thing. Okay, let me go ahead and put the clamp on it like that, and then we'll reproduce this once I get one that I like. So that's that edge. So let's come in about the same bit here. I just want a little bit. I don't really want a big, we're not going after this really huge bit. Okay. So now that space across here is what we want to capture. Let's see. And we need it to be this type of shape because that bit out, because we want we have to be able to have this to come straight down and around so that we have a nice flush side here, and we need the top to come, and we need this side to come around. See, so we're just going to have just a little bit there, because with our book we don't really need a big, I don't want a really big huge bit, you know. So that's where we're going to put our, so what we're going to do is just going to take that same edge and flip it and duplicate it up here. Then that way we don't have to go through that measurement again. So you're flipping it because you want obviously to line that same edge up so we get the same shape. Okay, so let's finish up the last part of this project. Look how good it's looking. I just love the closing the window there because I know it's morning and the air base will start its maneuvers. So this is looking really good. I'm happy. This is the finished piece. We just have to do our inside pages. All of our reinforcers are down. And our covers are looking fabulous. So also you just want to make sure that when you're putting the back cover, putting the final piece on the back cover, what I do is I'll just make sure it matches with the front cover. So just make sure when you're going to put this piece on, let's just say this is the piece that I hadn't put on yet. When you fold it over and you have everything in place, take this board and stand it up next to it. This is a piece a little tip that I want you guys to know. So you stand this piece up to the board and just slide it around until it lines up with this first one. Just so that when it's together, you know it's even. And then once you know it's pretty much lined up, then you can lay it down and finish pulling the sides over and finish the glue process. So that's just like a little tip so you'll know exactly. You know, so when you get it, it's not like wonky. When you go to put together, like one is like over like that and then one is here. That'll be so annoying in the end game. Also, just make sure that once you've covered your board, you use your bone folder. Just another tip, and take your bone folder while your boards are still wet and just go like this on the edges. And what it does, it gives you a nice crisp edge, so it won't be like it won't be rounded, you know what I mean? And if it dries rounded, then it's always like that. But to really give it a crisp look, you just take your bone folder, do it like that, so that when you're done, we have nice rounded corners, nice square edges on our book, and then it's looking like a book. And what's cool about doing traditional techniques on something like this, where we're just using old book boards, you know, we're taking paper and doing these inside pages, and though we're going to be using the rings, it still looks like a traditional book, doesn't it? So it's a really cool way to create a traditional looking book that, you know, when you share it with others, give them as gifts, using them yourselves, and you say, I made this. People are like, you made that? Because, you know, no one's thinking that, like, who's thinking that, okay, wow, you put the leather corners on, you did it, like it looks like a real book. And that always impresses people because people don't really think about the fact that they can make a book, you know? So I just wanted to show you, we wanted to just take it that extra mile so that, you know, when you're done, it just has this traditional look of a book. Cool. So I wanted to give you those tips. Now we're going to start working on the inside putting the inside pieces in. One thing, I had this paper here that I coffee stained. It was like white and it had these gold squares on it, and I love this paper. And it kind of fell down near my book when I was doing some stuff, and I'm like, wait a minute, I think just like a little bit of that on the edge just gives a little bit of, you know, of the golden look, and then with this, with the deckled edge just sort of laying on there, just adds another little something to it. So I'm showing you guys that, but I'm going to put that on. So I'm going to use my Giotto glue stick, because this is a really tough, strong glue, and it'll allow me to get all these little pieces that I want to be laying out really nice on my book, but I want them to be flat once I put them on there. So, such a great glue stick. Alrighty, so go ahead and put this down. So you could do something like this, or you don't have to. If you just want to add a little something to what you already have, you might have some papers hanging around or something like this similar, and you're like, oh, I like. So that just kind of gives it more of an old world touch as well. You know, it just adds that little extra aged beauty, that little bit of gold. Love it. So I'll let that dry up. while that's drying, we'll start working on our inside pages. Now I'm thinking, yep, it's plenty. So if I take and fold this 8.5 by 11 sheet in half, it'll give me enough for my two sides that I still have to cut down, but gets us started. Okay, so let me see, what do I want the front to be? Maybe like that. Okay, so this piece I'll have for the front. So let's start off with our back piece. So what we're going to do is that we're gonna have it so that it's just going to once again just be just like 1/8 of an inch inside all the way around. So just show a little bit. So down here, same thing. Just going to kind of fold it up a bit to where I know I need it. Then I'm going to get my cutting board. Let's go ahead and get this even. So right about there. Okay. My straight edge. Alrighty, let's check it. Okay, that's looking really good. Okay, looking good. Get a little bit, you want to see a little bit of the paper. It's nice to kind of see the contrast of the two papers. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use our clips. That's good. Now, of course, I have a little bit more of an edge on this than I need, but I'm going to get rid of that in the gluing process because remember I've got this live edge here. So I want my paper to kind of go over to that live edge and I'm going to tear it against it once it dries. But in the meantime, we have these holes. So let's get where is my pencil? Let me see, hold up, I think I have my mechanical pencil somewhere else. What did I do with it? I need to make well, I'll use this pen. I don't know why I can't find my pencil. Just had it. Anyhow, we're just going to go through here and kind of mark where our holes are. Okay. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to start off. Oh, I know what I want to do. Let me take this off. Hold up. One thing I want to show you before we did that. So you see how our page is pretty much even, but we have these little pieces sticking out there. And I'm kind of like a neatnik when it comes to technique. I like grunge, but I like things to look kind of like purple. I don't know, maybe neat grunge. I don't know if that's a concept. But I don't really care for bad technique and calling it grunge. I mean, I think grunge is a purposeful type of look, you know, but at the same time, you know, construction and stuff should be neat. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my X-Acto and I'm just lining things up to get rid of this little bit of extra that we have here. And literally it'll peel up. You just get, you know, just cutting it with our X-Acto and just get that little corner out. Because when we go to lay this top sheet down, we're going to see, once we glue it down, you're going to see this edge. And if it's all, you know, crooked and kind of messy, all that shows up in your work. So these are just little kind of, this is the stuff that makes the difference between, you know, sort of master bookbinding and bookbinding. I mean, it's a difference at the level of just little tips and techniques and tricks to make your work look gorgeous. So the same thing. We didn't have too much of an overhang because we really measured nicely. That's the other thing. We kind of made sure that our templates were the same. Like we didn't, you know, we just didn't have these random lengths. So when we put them down, they pretty much went at the same distance and, you know, had the same dimensions. And I'll get this out. So this is best done when things are dry. Don't attempt it when you first, when it's still wet, because it won't peel up as nicely as it's doing now. Okay? Alrighty, so now it's ready. Okay, so now back to this piece. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do something so that it just makes sense when it lines up. So what we're going to do is, I think what I'm going to use is I'm going to use the Giotto glue stick. You can still use your PVA, but I don't want to introduce too much more moisture now. Our boards have settled. We just want to get this page down, and this glue stick will put it down really nicely. Just want to glue it up good. So we're going to start off by really, and I might do a combination of this Giotto and maybe some white glue. We'll just see as we go along. I let the way I want to try to glue and, you know, what I'm, you know, actually, let's see, the space that I have, the surfaces that I'm looking at to put one thing on the other. I sort of let that dictate the kind of glue I'm going to use. So starting off, this one is really good, this Giotto, because I'll get a good adhesion. It's not super wet. I can see where I'm putting everything. And so we did half of that sheet. Okay, because I want to cut, so we'll just use our bone folder and burnish it nicely. And see, this is where that line matters, because you can, once you put it down, you can ever so faint see that line, and heaven knows you don't want one long, one short, all that. It just looks a mess. Okay, so now, see if my holes are in the same place. So now what we're going to do is we got to cut these holes on here so that, you know, it looks nice. So where's that pen again that I didn't want to use? Oh boy. So I'm just going down through here and marking the holes. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our hand punch. That's not the right one. Hopefully these holes are not going to be too big. I think they're about the right size. And we're going to just go in. Let's see if you can just, and we're just going to punch that. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay. Okay, so that way we have our holes down where we need them, and they're nice and neat on this side, right? So we have nice and neat holes on this side, nice ones on this side. So now we can go ahead and finish it off. Like I said, I'm gonna keep this live edge because once it dries, I'll be tearing this against it. So in the meantime, now what we're gonna do is put the glue on the board. Up to a point. because I don't want it all out on my leather, right? So we're just going to get it on the board up to a point. And then I'm going to flip it and flip it, and we're just going to, it's going to be hard for you guys to see it, but I'll just get some more glue along. Okay, so what we're going to do, that was what I was talking about. So I can't get the glue stick in there now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of my glitter glue, and we'll just run it along this edge, because we want to make sure that we've got, so let's just run it along that edge. I'm going to run it around these holes just to make sure. That way we know we've got these edges good. Okay? Okay? If you don't have a live edge like me, if you didn't do yours like that, then of course you just match it right up to the edge. Just cut your paper so that it's right at the edge, or you can just have a little overhang, and then once it's dry, you can just take your straight edge and just go down and straighten it. That way you make sure that it's not going to be too short, because we do want it to go to the edge in this particular book style. Okay, so that's looking good. Let that dry up nicely. So that's looking good. Yeah, we've got nice, we have nice neat holes on this side now. Everything is ready to go. Just put a little bit more glue right there. So it's important to let this set. Let these boards set and dry. Okay, so let's do our front side the same exact way. That worked. When I'm creating these books, it's like I'm always trying to figure out in my mind's eye. I'm pretty good visually in my mind thinking through the processes. Like when I get to here, I got to do this. When I get to there, because so many of these structures, I just kind of dream up in my mind. Like I'm gonna do it like this and add these components. And I knew that I wanted to make a book that when we were done, it had the look and the feel of old world. And see, I should have cut this at the same time, but I didn't. It's no big deal. That it has the look and the feel of old world, but you know, like wasn't like legit, you know, going through a lot of technical binding. But when we're done, it just had that old world Advent journal kind of look to it. So I think we've accomplished that. And it's a book with tremendous flexibility. And that's why I was saying in the beginning, even though my inspiration is the Advent season, and especially this year for me, after going through Corona and all of that, I've always, this time of year has always had really fond memories for me. I love it. I just love decorating trees and the lights. And I don't know, I'm just a festive type of person. You probably picked that much up about me. And where I'm not overly a traditionalist, I do certain things that make me happy. I just believe in doing. And I don't really get caught up in all the other things people have to say, like, oh, this meaning and that meaning and all this and that. And I just, if it brings me good memories and it ain't hurting nobody, I'm going to stick to my little routine. And so I do like this time of the year. And so I like keeping hold of all the memories that come with the passing of the year. And I think because I'm the kind of person, I'm the proverbial optimist. I really am. I'm like just so optimistic. Sometimes I get on my nerves. with my optimism. Sometimes I say, Robin, I don't know if that's optimism or just kind of being naive. I don't know, but in some situations. So this is ready to go. Okay, so same thing, we'll do up half the page. But anyway, but you can see, for those of you who don't celebrate this time of the year, or you know, like you have different cultural and religious beliefs, or you're celebrating something different, this is just a good book for anything. For just a great baby shower gift. You know, how cool is it to give, you know, someone a gift like this where, you know, it's all these pockets in them. They can already just tuck little things down in them, but they can take the binders apart, and all the cards they get, and all those little notes, and all the little things that come off the packages, and little bows, all that stuff we get, you know, when we've had baby showers and stuff like that. You want to keep all of that, and to have like a ready-made book that things can just be tucked in without a whole lot of, you know, fanfare, I think is a cool thing. You know, wedding, you know, bridesmaids gifts, wedding showers. I mean, oh my God, you could do this. Structure works for so many things for people. And, you know, it works for people who are highly creative and do this thing, and for people who aren't. They still want something special, and they still want to be able to have a place to put their memories and all that kind of stuff. So this little structure has a lot of life in it. It's a lot you can do with it. So just keep that in mind. It's not just, you know, to be used in this way. You can use it anyway. I just took this as an opportunity to show you guys this structure because I think it's cool. And every time I do it, I kind of do it differently, because you can see this is different from the one that I showed you guys originally, because that's, you know, I'm just, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, I can do it like this. And then I'm also thinking of like common supplies everyone would have. So I wanted to think of things that everybody would have already or could access pretty easily. Perfect. Look at that. Those holes are just perfect. Oh, okay, so now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put the last bit down. So glue this here. Just really pull your page back nicely. Don't worry about it. Just pull it back good enough so that you can get enough glue underneath here, so that when you go to put this page down, there won't be like a weird line where there was no glue, you know, because you just didn't pull the edge back far enough. Okay, so got a little extra glue down in this hole. I want to kind of get out. I need to have all that down in there. Sometimes the glue stick, you know, kind of starts doing that. Okay, so here, let's do this again. So we're going to take our glue, go around our edge. Here, same thing. Kind of go a little extra around our holes. Okay. Wow. I put it too far. It's okay. Let me bring it in just a little bit. That's going to get cut off anyhow, so it doesn't matter. But just want to make sure I've got a good seal. So let's just take our credit card. This is a good way just to kind of push things out. So that little ridge that you have there from folding back, you can start moving your glue and your material forward. Just make sure you keep your tissue or towel or something like that, so that you can get that glue up. Okay, it's looking good. How we're doing? Okay, not bad. we're nearly done. Alrighty, so now what we'll do is we'll let these sections dry, and then I'll rip them so you guys can see how I kind of get that live edge so everything just stays so beautifully. Ah, love it. When you're done to let your boards settle, you can put them under a little bit of weight, so you can put some book boards. You can put some like magazines or some of your heavy art books or something on top of them. Put a piece of wax paper or freezer paper or something that's got a vapor barrier or a moisture barrier, and then just let them dry. You can let them dry overnight. That'll really make sure that they're nice and flat and beautiful. And let's see. Okay, that's everything. So I'm going to let the boards dry and come back, and we will finish the construction. I believe that we've covered everything. Let's just make sure that our holes, where's my, make sure that we don't have any glue down in these holes. That's always a good idea, because once it dries, you know, it's there. And we took all of our time to make these really nice big holes so that our binder rings will spin around in them really good. The worst thing to me about using these binder rings are using them where the holes are too small. It is so annoying. Every time you try to use the book, you know, it's catching on the hinges, doing weird stuff. That's just because the holes are not big enough in the book. So that's the main thing with using binder rings. Just make sure that you make your holes large enough to really manage those rings spinning around on you. And other than that, it's a great system. All right, be back. Alrighty, so we're back to finish it up. I know this is a little long of a video, but I wanted us to get all the way through this part of it. I will be editing it, so I know it took me a couple of hours to do this. So I'll be editing it so that it won't be as long. I'm not sure how long it's going to be now, but you know, you could also view it in parts. If you have gotten this far, then it's a moot point because you've made it through the video. So anyway, so let me finish. I did this backside, so I wanted you guys to see how that live edge works. So you just get this neat kind of ripped, you know, look. So this looks natural, like the way it would look if you just ripped the board off of a book. So I wanted these boards to look like maybe this was a book of some sort, and we just removed the centerpiece to make this style book. So that's the idea behind it. Okay. So the way I do it is, this is still a little moist, but it's dried up a lot. And basically what you want to do is you just grab the paper, and I just kind of hold my, you know, I hold it underneath so I don't want it to rip into there somewhere. And so you just really kind of rip it against the edge. So it's just tearing, you're almost using, so you're using the edge like it's a ruler. So try to hold it up so you guys can see it. Normally I'd have it a little closer to my body. So you really just want to, I'll turn it around and tear it the other way. So now you see why I wanted to make sure that I had, you know, put that black down like I did, so that, okay, so that anything that did show, let me get that little piece sticking up. I don't like that. Hold up. We don't like points on our tears. So anything that may show, it'll already be black. It wouldn't have been that white paper that then I got to think about, oh goodness, now I got to get rid of that. So like here, you see how it's, you know, it's just bits and pieces of the black edge showing, which is fine. You just want it to, you know, have more of a controlled look to it. And then because I had already printed this paper when I was actually making the paper pack, I print out a lot of papers just to see how the colors are printing so I can make adjustments. And on this side, you remember how it had that red, and since it was going to be like I didn't need that other side to worry about. What's nice is that any little bit that shows on this outside has color on it. So it has a bit of the marbling. So yeah, so you know, you don't have to worry about that because you could also just either tear it a little closer or you can paint it when you're done. But that works for me. I like that. So there we have our book. So now we just need to get our rings and let's complete the binding. So I always start with the middle because if you get the middle lined up, the other two just kind of quite naturally do. And then just kind of put each page on the ring. I find it easier than trying to stack them up and trying to get it directly through the hole and all that. The other ones will do better. Isn't this cool? Oh my goodness, I love it. I'm going to enjoy using this. Okay, so there's one. And so generally once you get the one done, the other ones will sort of line up. Just kind of stand it up and just line them up and stick them through. Like that. Oh, this ring is not very good. Let me see about this one. Every now and then you get a dud. Okay, that's good. So where are the rest of the rings? My extras right here. These I had gotten in some, I don't know, I got some pack. I had bought things. And these were in there because they were already kind of at this sort of, you know, rusted bronze color. But you can also take, and I've successfully just in the past, if you have ones that are really silver, just take like a stain, like a paint. I'll tell you a paint that works really well is the let me grab it for you. I'll tell you, if you want to do this, 'cause I've used this before. So this craft paint that you can get from Joann's or Michael's, Hobby Lobby, the color shifts. You've seen me use these before. It's kind of hard to see the name of it because it color shifts, but it's the color shifts by Folk Art, and you get the black flash. This one is black flash. These are like a couple bucks, $3 or something, a thing, but you can see the color of it, and I'm telling you, it's like nearly the same color of, you know, you can sort of see it there. Yeah, see that? So I've taken and just using my finger, because you don't want it to get all glopped up. Using my finger, I've just taken the ones that are silver, and just kind of, you know, rub the paint on there. Let it dry, come back, do some more, and it does a good job. You can also use like the metal, you know, those little pots of color that are like a metal wax. You can use that. Just really rub them on good, let them dry really good, you know, so do it early in the process, or, you know, do it in sort of way, whatever. But that's another thing that you can stain your metal down. And if you're handy with a blowtorch, or if you have someone, a partner, or, you know, someone who you know that uses a blowtorch, they have a metal shop or something, give them some of your silver rings, and if you just torch them just ever so gently, they get that really kind of raku fired look to them, and they really look good. Because I don't do it, but I have a friend who does, and so periodically I'll just give them a batch of them, and they'll just touch it with the torch. But you can't do too much because it'll too hot and the rings will start doing something weird, sort of sticking. But just a little bit of it is a great way to get a natural kind of patina on your rings. So here's our book. And like I said, right now the rings are they seem like a little big, and maybe you're saying, oh, I could have used a smaller ring, but you don't want that, because as this book expands, we're going to be happy for those rings. So anyway, basically, it just works beautifully. You can open the pages will open fully, so you can literally put stuff in them. if you want to write on them, you just kind of have to, you know, do it to the side like this or whatever. But they open beautifully all the way through the book. There's plenty of room for expansion, putting stuff in, working them. It's a great little journal just to be able to hold things in. And then what I've done as well is sometimes I'll put unfolded paper in here too. So just sort of straight, maybe like a cardstock. So that's in between. I mean, you can see now the sky's the limit. But look at her. Oh, love it. And see, it moves really well because our holes are big enough. So things are not sticking and janking and all of that. That is just the worst. But if you make your holes big enough, it just moves so nicely. Look at that. Oh, I'm so happy. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a few more projects with this book over the next couple of weeks. One of the things that we're going to do is, because we still have these bits in the pack, so we will turn these into journal cards, some tags, you know, so we can fill out our journal with the other bits and pieces. If you want to add more pockets, if you want to add a double pocket. This page is pretty. Look how pretty that is. I really like this blue feathered marbling with this one. It really worked nicely together, especially once it's stained, because it brought out the blues and the greeny colors in the paper. And then with that, and with the Gelli printing, see that Gelli print? That's what I like to do the coloring on the plate, to do that glazing, because you pick up all that extra goodies that just makes it look, you know, more thought out and just beautiful. So that's what we'll do. You know, in the beginning, we did stain some of the papers. So these are all going to make nice tags, little journaling tuck things. We'll just play around and flush it out so that that stuff is there to journal on. And the other thing is that I wanted to show you this. In the meantime, Patti Viramontes on YouTube, you know, you guys probably are aware of her channel. If not, it's Patricia Viramontes. If I remember, I will put the link to her channel below. But she reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to try her stains, and I've been seeing other people use it. I'm like, yeah, why not? We like aging things. And so what I did is I was playing around. Oh my goodness, I used it on the Gelli plate. That's to come. I printed with this stuff on the Gelli plate, and this is just some, just to tantalize you guys. This is some of the pulls that I made using my stencils, but this is her stains underneath there. And then this is some of the other paints I had on the plate. This is just me pulling the stains completely. And then this is using one of my stencils. I'll also put the links for my stencils down there for those of you who may have missed the launch of them. So, I mean, look at that, how pretty that is. So it's something about this stains that allows us to work with it on the Gelli plate, believe it or not. So that is a video that we'll do coming up. But in the meantime, like, I painted it on this part, and so you can see the difference in color between this and that pure white. But it's also, I like the finish on it. It's not sticky, it's not glossy. I really, really like the finish. It just, it ages it without adding kind of a weirdness to it. So I'll be playing with this on the papers as well. That's what's coming up. I'm also going to do, maybe even next week, I'm going to do a collage, a masterboard using our papers and using some of this. And then that masterboard we'll be able to use back in our journals different ways. So we'll just play with the packs. We'll play with continuing to flesh out our journal. And maybe as we're receiving things, as, you know, cards come in and stuff, you'll see me adding it to the journal. So we'll just have fun with this. But there we are, done. Isn't she cute? See our deckled edge, our edges. That's why we wanted those edges on it. So when it's closed, it just has that old world look to the edges of the pages, along with our beautiful marbled papers, our leather. Oh, this is good. This is good. You guys know me, how excited I get about the project. So yeah, check out Patti. I'll put a link to the product. It's on her, I think it's her Etsy shop. It's $9.95. It's quite a bit in here, and I've used it. I did a whole jelly printing session playing around with stuff. I've used it a few times, and I mean, it's still a lot in there. So it looks like it will last a nice period of time as well. Alrighty, I will let you guys go. If you love the video, please thumbs it up. If you're new to my channel, pretty please join. And if you have other people that you think would love this video, please share it out, because sharing it out tells YouTube that people like it, and more people you'll find me. Because I always hear people say, oh my God, I just found you. I didn't know you were around. Like, you should have more subscribers. More people should know. I hear that all the time. So the way you guys can help me out with that is just to share out the video, tell others about it. And yeah, we'll just keep on having fun into the new year. Oh, I love her. All right, guys, love you so much. Take care, and I will see you again next week. Bye-bye.